Rachel, I do need to ask you about Congress, coming any closer to a deal on a coronavirus relief package this week. Where do things stand? A lot of people concerned without jobs and struggling with health care right now.
Millions of people hanging in limbo, and now Congress is hitting yet another wall. You had the White House, Steve Mnuchin, the Secretary of Treasury, go to Democrats and propose this $916 billion bill, but they significantly cut back those unemployment benefits, which are a sticking point for Democrats. So House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they flat out rejected that. Then you have a separate group of bipartisan lawmakers now proposing this $908 billion bill, but we don't know where Republican leadership stands on that. That does expand those unemployment benefits, though, that Democrats want to see. The bottom line here, still no deal. You have millions of Americans who are waiting for this. And at the end of the day, as Joe Biden urges Congress to act, it's President Trump's signature who is going to need to be on that piece of legislation before those critical benefits expire for millions of people that are right now are on unemployment and waiting for Congress to pass this much-needed relief.
Martha Raddatz, Rachel Scott, thanks so much, ladies.
Well, Canada has now approved use of the Pfizer COVID vaccine a day after the UK started rolling out its first doses. Tomorrow, an FDA panel will meet to pave the way for approval of Pfizer's vaccine here in the U.S. The data released so far shows it to be remarkably effective, but a White House report shows that vaccines likely won't slow the spread significantly in the U.S. until the spring, once at least 100 million Americans are immunized. Let's bring in epidemiologist and ABC News contributor Dr. John Brownstein for more. And I want to start with sort of setting the expectations for people. Yeah. What should Americans expect in terms of a timeline when the first doses of that vaccine are going to be distributed? And how long could it realistically take to get back to some semblance of normal?
Yeah, no, that's the question that's on everybody's mind, right? The vaccine is likely to be approved, and we're going to start to see it slowly be distributed. It's so important that we come up with a fair, equitable, and transparent plan to get this vaccine out to the community. And the focus to begin with is those at greatest risk of the disease, but also those at greatest risk of spreading. And this is why we have this phase 1A approach, which is healthcare personnel, long-term care facility, residents. Those are the ones that are going to start getting this vaccine as soon as next week. Then we start to move into essential workers, about 80 million people, and then adults with high-risk conditions, another 100 million. Clearly, states are going to have some level of flexibility on who they define as getting this vaccine, and all the states are starting to release their plans. But by the time we get it to the broad population, 70, 80%, we're looking at April, May, June. That's really when we can start to see things getting back to normal. But I can't stress enough this issue of the vaccine getting distributed appropriately to those who need it most. We know that there are vaccine deserts out there where people don't have access. So we're going to have to do so much to get this vaccine out to those that are most vulnerable. And just a quick plug for the flu shot, because that is available now. And, it is flu immunization week, and everybody should still be getting their flu shot while we wait for this COVID vaccine.
Yeah, and so many people don't get their flu shots every year. The UK is rolling out their vaccine doses right now, but there was a reason to pause today. Health officials in the UK are now telling people who've had severe allergic reactions to hold off on getting this vaccine after 2 patients had adverse reactions to the vaccine. So I just want to kind of break down for people, what do we know about those cases, and do you agree with that recommendation?
Right. So I do agree with it, right? These are 2 people that were NHS workers or healthcare workers that were in the first wave of getting this vaccine among thousands. These were people that carry around an EpiPen. They have a history of severe allergic reactions, and they developed symptoms of anaphylaxis after receiving this vaccine yesterday. They both recovered fine, and they both were technically in a high-risk category. What's really important to mention is clinical trials are not real world. So they didn't have every possible patient in these clinical trials, and clearly we're identifying some potential safety signals now, and the regulators are adjusting recommendations to exclude certain people who have these allergic reactions. So it makes sense. As this vaccine rolls out, we're going to collect more safety data and adjust appropriately. But it's really important to mention that these are rare and very temporary reactions to the vaccine, and so people should not be concerned.
And just to put a button on that, this is a reaction that in some ways should have kind of been expected as well, right?
Exactly. So vaccines tend to have ingredients sometimes that do cause allergic reactions. This is something that has happened with other vaccines. We know these are expected reactions. So nothing is super surprising here. So nobody should feel like this is an anomaly for this particular vaccine. It is part of the process when we learn about vaccines and the segments of the population that probably will not be appropriate for this one, but potentially for other vaccines that will hit the market.
That's good information for us. Dr. John Brownstein, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.